Now that we have restarted our Power BI desktop, let us go ahead and learn how to create calculation groups. In order to do calculation groups, we are going to go over to the model view. And under the model view on the ribbon, you can see calculation group. We click on it. Now that we do that, we can see calculation item equals selected measure. This is showing in our formula bar. And we have calculation group column. All these, they mean different things. This calculation item is going to be like what you want your calculation to be based on. Is it going to be based on sales, based on transaction, based on profits, based on returns? Whatever you want it to be is going to be the selected measure, but you want it to be dynamic. It means you want the end user to keep changing it based on what they select. Yeah, that's okay. What we are going to do now is we are going to rename this selected measure as what? Current. That is the current measure. Yes. Now the calculation group, we are going to rename it and call it time intelligence because our calculation group is going to be based on time intelligence. We are creating template DAX codes for time intelligence measures. Good. And we are going to call this calculation group column show as. Good. After doing this, we can now begin to create more calculation items. We are just going to right click on calculation items and we start with it. Now we want to do YTD, year to date, template code for YTD. How do we do that? We are going to first of all take notes. We want to write our DAX codes line by line. We want to put different things on different lines. It makes your code readable and make it easy to debug. We are going to do calculate. How do we do it as a measure? If you want to do it as a measure, you just do sales, right? And after doing sales, what do you do next? You do date YTD. Good. And you put the calendar date. Close the brackets once, close the bracket second time. That is what you do. But in this case, you want this sales. You want it to change to profit some other time. Change to discount another time. Change to transaction another time. Based on the selection of the user. So in this case, instead of having sales, what do you think we are going to have? We are going to have selected measure. Good. Now we can just tweak our code and bring some things into different lines. Good. Everything looks good. We are happy. Now we press enter. That is YTD for you. If you want to do QTD, the only difference is that date YTD will now be date QTD. I'm just going to copy it. And I'm going to come to calculation item, new calculation item, and I'm going to just paste it inside and call this QTD. Good. It is as simple as that. And we press enter. Good. Now we have QTD. Let us do previous year. And we are going to call it PY equals what? Calculate again. How do you do previous year? As a measure, you are going to do something. Let's assume you want to do sales previous year. It's going to be something like this, comma. Then you do same period last year. And you put the calendar date inside. That is what you do normally. But now we want to do a calculation item, a template code, something like that. Then instead of having sales, what do you think we are going to have? Any guess? It is going to be what? Selected measure. Good. Then we have selected measure. Let us just clean our code and we are happy. Everything looks good and we press enter. This is previous year. If you want to do previous year YTD, you just need to modify this a little and you are going to come to calculation items, new calculation. Then you paste what you have and you want to have YTD. In this case, because you want to do previous year YTD, you need to add more filters to your calculate. Remember, calculate is used to modify a filter context. You put comma, then we go to the next line. If you want to go to the next line, you don't do enter. It has to be shift enter. Then it takes you to the next line. Then what do we do next? We are going to do time intelligence. Show as equals YTD. Why are we doing this? We cannot just bring in this YTD that we've created before. We need to use time intelligence, show as YTD. If you want to do previous year QTD, what do you think is going to change? Any idea? Good, good. It means instead of having YTD here, what do you have? QTD. Let us do that. And we just press enter. And now let us create new calculation item and call it previous year QTD. And the only difference is going to be QTD that we've created earlier. If you have not created any calculation item named QTD or YTD, you cannot put it here. Good. We press enter. We are happy. Good. Now we want to create what we call year on year, which is we want to look at how our company fares year on year, the difference, not the percentage now. We are going to come over here, new calculation item, come to the formula bar, YOY equals what? The question is, how do you create your year on year? You are just going to do current year minus previous year. That is what we are supposed to do, right? But now we cannot just do that directly. We need to bring in our current year. What do you think current year is going to be? Selected measure. Good. Now, what is previous year going to be? We have our previous year already. How do you bring in this previous year? You are going to do something like this. You are going to do something like calculate. Then you say what? The base measure. Then what next? Then you have time intelligence. Time intelligence show us what? You are doing what? You are subtracting from the what? From the previous year. So it is going to be PY in that case. Equals PY. Then you close your first bracket for calculate. And everything looks good. We are happy. Now, what is year on year growth going to be? We create new calculation item. And we are going to call it YOY percent equals, how do you create YOY percent normally? It's supposed to be divide. Inside divide, what do you put inside? You are going to put the YOY growth that you've calculated before, divided by what? Any guess? Be divided by the previous year. Good. So the question is, how do we bring in the YOY that we've calculated and the previous year that we've calculated? We need to use what we call calculate. So how do we do that? We are going to say calculate and we put the base measure, right? Which is going to be selected measure. Good. Then what next? What next? Any idea? We have selected measure. Because we want to bring in the YOY, we are now going to use time intelligence again. Show us YOY. Now we can close the bracket for the first calculate. Then we want to come to the denominator now, comma. Then how do we bring in the previous year? The previous year is just going to be what? It's going to be calculate again. Then the base measure, selected measure. Then what next? Time intelligence. Show us, what are we showing us? Previous year, PY. Then we close the brackets for the calculate. Then we close the brackets for the divide. And everything looks good. We are happy. We press enter. Now we have created the calculation items that we need for our reports. Now let us see it in action. In order to see it in action, let us create a new report page and call it calculation groups demo. Now we are going to make use of a matrix here, and we are also going to make use of a slicer. For my slicer, I'm going to put year, and for my matrix, I'm going to use year and month. Now I'm going to just bring month to rows. Good. Then I can select any year that I want. Now we want to populate it. We need to put something in columns and something in values. Now our values is going to be what? If I want to find sales, but time intelligence on sales alone, then I'm just going to check the box for sales. I have it. Then my columns is going to be what? Any guess? The time intelligence calculation items that I've created. I'm just going to come to time intelligence, check, show as. Can we see how it appears automatically? Good. And if I don't want to see sales, if I want to see something else, let's assume I want to see discount. I'm going to check the box for discounts. I have discounts. We can see now that we have a lot of more columns and I can remove sales. Now we can see that. If I want to see transaction, I can just bring in transactions and I remove discounts. Can we see? Good, good, excellent. Now let us just go back to sales and just check the box. Good. One thing I need us to take note is we can see now that our YOY percent is appearing as a decimal, not as percentage. We can apply what we call dynamic string formats. So in order to do that, we go back to our model view, to our calculation item for YOY percent. We click on it, we select it, and we come to properties, and we activate this dynamic format string, and we have come to our formula bar, we are going to have 0.00%. Excellent. And we press enter. Now, if we go back to our reports view, can we see what we have? YOY% automatically. This is what I'm saying. And we can see how everything works as intended. Everything works as intended. Good, good, good. Now, there are still a number of things we can do with calculation items. We can actually bring in the measures that we've created, or the calculation items we've created. We put it on a slicer. Let us do that. In order to do that, let us just open another report page and bring in our slicer and just bring in show as. Now we have this. Then we create another matrix and we also create another slicer and we put year inside it, the calendar year. Good, excellent. Now for the matrix, we bring in month and year as usual and we put our month to row. Good. Then we can just select one of the year and we have this. What do we want to do? If I just come to sales, I check the box for sales. It means I want sales here, profits here, discounts, and transactions. Can we see what we have now? Can we see what we have? Then, if I want to see just current, you can see, and we have PY, how everything changes. It is showing for the current now, which is the current year. Then, previous year, which is 2011 in this case, even though I'm selecting 2012. Then QTD, YOY%. We can see everything is in percentage. Good, good. Now this is just another way to use what? The calculation groups. What I want to show us now is we want to combine calculation groups and what we call field parameter in Power BI. Let's get started. What we want to do in this case is, let us come to the modeling tab and we just click on new parameter fields. And our name here is going to be measure selector. We want to select the measures that we want. Instead of bringing it from the field pane or the data pane over here, we are just going to be able to select the measures that we want. So we come to measure table and we check sales, profits, discounts, and transactions. I need you to note that we cannot use implicit parameters with field parameters. We need explicit measures, not implicit measures with field parameters. Good. Now we want to add slicer to this page. We create. Now we have this. We can decide to remove this because we do not need it for now. And we can just remove all these items. Good. What do we want to do? Now we can see we have this measure selector that we can use to select. And we also have another small table that has been created for us, which is called measure selector. For this matrix, I'm going to bring my measure selector over here. Now that I've brought it in, we can see what we have now. I have sales, profits, discount, transactions, but my job is not done. I need one more thing. I need to bring in my calculation group, show as time intelligence. Now we have transactions, everything related to transactions. Now, then I can change it to sales. Everything changes automatically. I change it to profits, everything changes. Discounts, transactions. And that is the power of combining field parameter with what? Calculation groups. This is an excellent way to improve our productivity. It also helps to improve performance because it means instead of creating, let's say, 40 measures now I just need to create a template measure, which may just be maybe 6 of them. And I'm going to apply it on my base measures or my simple measures. And everything works as intended. And that is the goal. We can see now, it's good to learn how to use calculation groups, learn how to use field parameter, and we can apply it dynamically in our reports. And that is that on that. Do not forget where we started from. Where did we start from? We started from asking ourselves questions that we wanted to get from our reports. We want answers to some questions from our data. Based on those questions, we created a storyboard. Based on our storyboard and questions, we decided to create some measure lists that we need to create. Then we started creating it. After creating most of those measure lists, we came through what we call calculation groups, which is an excellent way to reduce the total number of measures you create and have like a template measure for our time intelligence and apply it for discounts, for sales, for profits, and so on and so forth. And we create the calculation groups. Now that we have all our measures, the next thing we need to do is to learn how to create the report. Report is like the end product, but we need to do a lot of things in the background, like getting our data, transforming our data modeling, storyboarding, creating measures before you come to reports and your dashboard. The end is near, but we will soon get there. Good. Now, in the next set of videos and the next module, we are going to be learning how to create this report and build reporting for our sales summary storyboarding, then the storyboarding for time intelligence and the geography sales reports. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next module.